Hello, Musto0063 back here to continue on with the Mega Man 11 Robot Master Verdict runs. Still not sure I've quite bounced back from that last stage, but it's not as if I'm about to refuse to continue. Yep, time to go after the Electric Robot Master. And just as with Plug for Mega Man 9 and Sheep for Mega Man 10, I wasn't especially looking forward to this. Not so much owing to the level, I honestly expected that not to be too problematic, but instead because of the Robot Master. So I'll return to my usual intro and mention that with my having already done Let's Play, and with those being in separate videos, I'll put links in the description, a reminder that I may not commentate all the time over these perfect runs as I have similarly done with others, but more chime in to let you know about a screen that gave me trouble, or if there's a particular strategy for getting through an area that I think is worth sharing. So I decided to take this screen slow, including waiting to kill off this bubble bat, and essentially take no chances with it. It's definitely doable much faster than this, but I wasn't up for taking any unnecessary risks. Unfortunately, it's not possible to destroy this wall cannon, or I suppose this one's more of a ceiling cannon, with uncharged butter shots, so instead we're going to have to leave it alone and be mindful of when and where it's going to shoot. It's not too bad to manipulate and or predict though, so it shouldn't cause too much trouble. Speaking of not taking any unnecessary risks earlier, not sure why I tried to go for 3 jumps here instead of 2. I mean, I still got through, just about, but there was absolutely no need for me to cut things that close. Now I take a speak up here, I haven't said anything in a while, and I wanted to mention that I always love how awesome it looks sliding through that laser area. And the mid-boss at Dreadspark caused me no trouble either. It's honestly one of the easiest mid-bosses in the game in my opinion. Just pay attention to the laser patterns, move to the safe spots, and pummel away when you can. Not much else to say about this. Probably best to make an immediate dash for it on this screen. It's actually when you have the most time to get through in one go. And might as well wait here for the bubble bat to awaken. You have a perfect vantage point to take it out easily, and it's much safer than mucking around with it later on. A quick mention here that you won't be able to kill all these tellies. A couple of too low to hit with uncharged butter shots, so you have to jump those ones, but it's not exactly difficult to do. And okay, this is potentially the most awkward screen of the level, but frankly, provided you set off getting from one safe spot to the next immediately after lasers aren't in the way and don't dilly-dally, it's still pretty easy to get through unscathed. I would recommend pausing here though, for an additional cycle in order to take out that drone, so it doesn't end up becoming a nuisance later on. So it sounds like I haven't talked about any outtakes on the level. That's because I had none. As for Fuse Man himself, It's not usually his first phase of the problem, typically at least, it's his second. It's the addition of a second spark flying in your direction and the more zigzaggy path the screen circling sparks take that make things much more awkward. For his first phase, unless he teleports low down in the middle of the screen, you generally have quite a bit of room to work with in terms of dodging everything you need to, including Fuseman himself, and being able to attack pretty much whenever suits you. But everything changes with the first occurrence of his speed gear move. While you can technically damage him during this part, I prefer not to and would rather just concentrate on sliding like a maniac to get away from him. Seems to work well for me. So here we go with the second phase, and typically I don't have a great time dodging everything here. My success rate in getting through the remainder of the fight without taking at least one hit is not high. In fact, for this attempt, it was 0%, including the small amount of time I spent practicing this beforehand. I started to formulate a decentish strategy, but I still hadn't got it down pat. And I must say, even with a decent strategy, it's very easy to lose sight of what you should be doing when. So yeah, to reiterate, typically, Fuse's second phase is nasty, and I was not expecting to have a good time at it. Typically, at least. So, did you happen to spot which word I typically overuse there? And did you also happen to spot that, as with the level, I didn't talk about any outtakes on the Robot Master? That's because I had none. Just gonna let that sink in for a moment. Got your jaw off the floor by now? Yep, I actually got a perfect run on Fuseman stage, the 7th one I attempted in this game, going off perceived difficulty order, on my first try. Still can't quite believe it? Then have another moment listening to some awesome 8-bit stage music before we get to that difficulty analysis. Wow, I was not expecting that. Apparently perfect runs are like buses. I wait 12 games for one, and end up with 2. It's actually not unprecedented for something like this to happen. I did Dual Man stage 6 in Mega Man 9, and ended up perfecting that stage on my second try, with Dual Man earning a 1 out of 10, but this felt like a step up even from that. I mean, this came off the back of Bounce Man being rated 9 out of 10, and me initially reckoning that this stage, thanks to Fuseman himself, was going to be more difficult. Admittedly, Bounce turned out to be much harder than what I anticipated, but still. 5 minutes is all it took to perfect run Fuseman. With, as said, no outtakes on either level or the Robot Master. To be fair, I was not expecting the level would trip me up that often. Much of it consists of laser puzzle segments, which are very easy to deal with provided you keep your wits about you. Additionally, most of the enemies are slow moving and take a few shots to kill, so they don't pose much of a threat either. And the mid-boss Dreadspark is also probably one of the easiest of the bunch, assuming you kill it quickly. I actually took more time on it than I expected on this run, and even had to jump over 2 of the orbs that came at me, but still didn't feel that nervous on it. Fuseman, on the other hand, is a completely different story. I think his first phase is generally fine, although I can still get caught out by him teleporting to an area low down in the middle of the screen. He doesn't seem to do it that often, but when he does, he doesn't afford you much space to dodge the laser he fires at you, and it's also very easy to jump into him just as he's teleporting in. His speed gear attack is also fine, as long as you keep sliding from side to side like a maniac. It's actually possible to damage him on alternate occasions when he shocks the ground, but whenever I try to do that, I invariably take damage myself. So I decided to adopt a more cautious approach and not attempt to attack. This did mean I missed out on 6 shots on my successful run, the first and third time he shocks the ground for all 3 times he did this move, but it all worked out fine in the end anyway. It's his second phase when he starts firing two lasers at you that things become trickier. It would probably take way too long to describe precisely what I try to do, but Cliff Notes version, I want to start off this phase with me being on the right hand side of the screen, and from there repeatedly try to fake out the lasers, mostly by sliding from side to side, but there is a moment or two where a well-timed jump over a spark is required. This is not simple though by any means, and I still can't say I have anything like a foolproof strategy for this phase. It's also easy to mess up the pattern, as I very nearly did when he was down to his last 2 HP. I'll freely admit I reacted purely on instinct at that moment and got a little fortunate. So yeah, all in all, one of the more difficult Robot Masters in the game in my opinion, just not on this occasion. I'd put many more happy faces here if I could. Don't think I've ever been quite so delighted with how a stage turned out in my entire Perfect Run series. Back when I was planning to script out my analysis for Tundra Man, I thought I'd be saying he was the 15th and last member of the 1 out of 10 club. But of course, as it transpired, I then couldn't say that. So instead, that honour goes to Fused Man. He becomes the 16th and last member of the 1 out of 10 club, joining Heat, Top, Magnet, Hyperstorm H, Toad, Gravity, Gyro, Knight, Tomahawk, Spring, Galaxy, Concrete, Jewel, Nitro and Tundra. Yes, I appreciate there's a spoiler in there for the last remaining Robot Master, but I don't think revealing that he isn't going to score 1 would come as that much of a shock. Hey, look at that. I even managed to sneak an electric-based pun into the mix. While I never thought the level was going to cause too many problems, albeit I did think I'd come a cropper a little, I did expect Fused Man himself to be a huge pain in the arse. On casual playings, it was a fight I always enjoyed, but I could never get a good handle on his second phase. I won't deny the practice run-throughs of the game in advance of attempting perfect runs didn't help, but even then, while I had formulated something of a strategy I expected to be helpful, I still hadn't pulled off a flawless fight at that point. To get one on my first perfect run attempt truly was a bolt from the blue, and obviously means, however false I think it might be, I can't give Fuse anything other than a 1 out of 10. So 7 down and just the 1 to go. My last perfect run, well, attempt at least, not giving anything away, on an official classic Mega Man game ever. And while it's not something I planned, it does allow me a pretty nice pun/reference to end things up. So join me next time as the curtain comes down on my Mega Man Perfect Run series, and I pass the torch on. Cheerio.